What's up, nerds? I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
Today we're hexing and rolling and writing in Hex Roller.
It's so hot in here, guys. So, Hex Roller is a roll and write game. And roll and writes, if you don't know, maybe you're living under a rock or something, because roll and writes are like the new fad right now. Everybody's doing it. But I'm taking back the word fad, because fad is usually something that comes and goes, and it's usually not that great. Tamagotchis and Furbies and Pokemon. Well, Pokemon's okay. Roll and writes are actually really fun. It's becoming one of my new favorite genres of games, so I'm really glad that everybody's making a roll and write right now. Awesome.
So Hex Roller is one of Renegade's additions to the roll and write genre. The way it works is you have all these cool different colored dice. You roll them. You're going to group the dice by number. So you got all your 3s over here, a 4, a 5, a 7, and an 8. And then everyone's going to share that dice pool. And it's not like drafting. You can't block other people. But you're going to pick 2 of the clumps here. So you're probably going to pick the 3s because there's 4 of them. And then, like I said, I picked the 8. So you're going to write, I've got 4 3s there, so I'm going to write 4 3s on my sheet, starting at a 3 that already exists on the board, and then every subsequent 3 you write has to be adjacent to the 3 that you just wrote down. And you're trying to fill up these clusters and connect the printed numbers of the board. So there's 2 3s, you're trying to connect the 3 to the 3 or the 4 to the 4, but you can't do all of them because a lot of them might cross over each other, so it's impossible to do all of them. So you have to decide which ones you're doing and kind of commit to, all right, I'm going to pick the 3s, and hopefully the 3s are real easy to connect. Like, let's say the 8s. Hopefully I can connect these 8s, because if I do, that's 8 points.
I mean, you also get points, though, because there's all these different clumps of hexes. What is that? A clump of 7 hexes.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever number you have the most of in that hex, if it's full, that's how much that hex scores you. So while you do want to try and make these lines, you might, instead of you get those 4 3s, you could take those 3 and cut across to try and connect, or you could be like, you know what, I'm just going to take all those 3s and fill in this hex, this clump of hexes right here. So now this whole thing is worth 3 points. So at least instead of hoping to try to get points through these chains, I'm just going to nail these down right here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you also have the bonuses that you can use, and if you don't use them, you get points. And whenever you select the clumps, you'll write them down. So you want to get the more diversity of numbers you get.
So the way it scores is you start at 3, which is the lowest number in this game, and you just start going 3, 4, 5, until you don't have the next immediate number in that sequence. And that's how many points you score for that row. So if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then you get 8 points. If you have 3, 4, 5, 5, 7, 8, you get 5 points because you didn't have the 6 to go in that row.
So basically, you don't want to just choose 3s every single time.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you chose 8 every single time and you filled this whole thing up with 8, you connected the 8s and every single clump was full of 8s. I mean, I'm not a numbers person, but maybe that would still be a lot of points. But you want to diversify. There's also 2 sides to the sheet. So, there's a little bit of variety here. And I think we all play with the same side.
Yeah.
But it is nice that, you can try the different types of strategies on side A and then again later on side B. Ooh, variety.
There's all these different colors of dice on the table. The colors do not matter. And I almost want there to be like a variant or an expansion or something that the colors matter too. And it's more exciting than there just being like one color of dice. But it's almost like confusing people at first. Like, okay, but what if the yellow die and it's yellow and blue? It's like, no, ignore the colors completely.
It almost kind of makes me wonder, well, why do they give them different colors anyways?
I think it's just variety. It's just to make it look less plain.
And the dice themselves, they're decent quality. I've definitely had dice before where you can rub the ink off of it and stuff. They're fine. They're just, not the best dice in the world.
They're printed wooden dice.
They're printed wooden dice. They're very light. The whole game is very light. We always try to include component quality in our videos, but it's hard to talk about component quality when all it is some paper and some dice. Oh, I guess, okay, no pens. Some of them include pens, some of them don't. I don't really care, but I always want to bring it up. I don't know.
Overall, I did enjoy this game a lot. I think I prefer games with more player interaction because this game has 0 player interaction. I played it solo, and I played it with 4 people and 3 people and all kinds of different player counts, and it's the same game every time. And it doesn't matter if you're playing it solo or not. which if you're a solo gamer or not, like that might be a good thing for you. Like I get the same experience either way. But I do prefer games that have just a little bit more player interaction.
Yeah.
That being said, it is really fun. It's one of the simpler roll and writes, but there's like just enough to it where I would play this one again, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, when there's a prevalence of these similar type of games all falling in the same category, the same genre, all coming out around the same time, I mean, you're going to get a little bit of fatigue. And I feel like that's almost what I'm getting a kind of a bit is I'm like, what's different about this one? What's different about that one? And it's hard to rank them because I've played all of them so close to each other and stuff. The lack of player interaction doesn't make it a bad game. It doesn't bring it from a positive to a negative. But I mean, because they're still good to it. We're still not always going to be choosing the same thing. We're not going to be placing them in the same spot. We're not going to be going for the same type of thing.
But it is a game that you and I could finish with identical scores because we could just make the same choices every single time.
We could, but it really doesn't happen. I mean, Welcome To is the same thing. Mm-hmm. Welcome To is there's just the 3 options and you pick one of the options and you put it wherever. So it could work that way. But also, the benefit to that what's his name? Jamie Stegmaier brought up in his blog talking about Welcome To, and I think this says 1 to 8 players. I don't know why they put a cap on it at 8 because in theory you could go infinite with this, couldn't you?
Yeah,
if it's just you roll it. You can play 100 people.
You could play it over Skype or something like they do with Welcome To.
Yeah, you could roll these onto a camera, and it's like playing bingo. Everybody's just sitting there, all these old people making stamps or something.
I would love it if when we're older, this is what happens instead of bingo. Like we're all getting together playing games like this.
I'm not going to hang out with you when I'm old.
But you'll be dead.
Dead.
I'll have killed you.
Neverboard Gaming does recommend Hex Roller. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit simpler. Not as much player interaction. But hey, still a really fun time. Still really enjoy it. We're going to put a purchase link to Hex Roller in the description box down below. Go ahead and get yourself a copy.
While you're down there, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
I'm off. I'm way off. I could have stood over here the whole day. Sup, nerds? I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And let's Hex Roll! I didn't realize there was something behind there.